it's kind of a wrap-up day. We do have a few great resources we want to share with you. The one fairly new tool, some of you might already be familiar, but hopefully for some of you, this will be a new resource that you can use. It's called the alignment tool. And at Cedar, as we are an OSEP-funded center, we are very fortunate to partner with many other OSEP centers as well, including the IRIS Center out of Vanderbilt. They, in collaboration with Cedar, have created this alignment tool, High Leverage Practices Interactive Alignment Tool. It is basically an interactive tool that helps maps the high leverage practices for students with disabilities onto all of the great IRIS resources that are out there. Essentially, it takes the high leverage practices and, of course, groups them across our categories: assessment, collaboration, instruction, social, emotional, behavioral. And under those, you will see the individual high leverage practice listed. So, for example, we have HLP 4, 5, and 6 under assessment. And then if you go through and click on any one of these individual HLPs, like this one, I clicked on HLP 1, collaborate with professionals to increase student success. All of the IRIS resources that are out there that relate to this HLP and support it are then linked right there with hyperlinks. So again, if you are teaching a class or providing professional development and you want to quickly get some ready to use resources about an individual high leverage practice, you can go there and these are just screenshots, but if you scroll down, it's just all of the lists of the different modules or case studies or videos that IRIS already has. So then the nice thing is you can literally embed these links into your syllabus or into whatever opportunity you're providing to educators. And you don't have to go and sift through all the resources to find, okay, well, which ones relate to collaboration, which ones relate to social, emotional, behavioral learning. It's really been a huge time saver. I have used it in several of my courses because I was already using the IRIS modules and resources quite a bit, but now it just creates this perfect alignment. And, they will continue to update this as IRIS is always adding new resources. So we really encourage you at some point to go check it out and play around with it and find out all the different things that are available to you. The other area we wanted to talk about a little bit today is the Teaching Works website. I'm going to stop sharing my this screen for just a moment because I'm going to actually take us through the website. You can also just Google Teaching Works. And Deborah Ball in Michigan created this. It started as all of the general education high leverage practices. So, our affinity group through Cedar is focused specifically on high leverage practices for students with disabilities. But Day and I and Kate felt like it was important to still remind everyone or possibly introduce you to the idea that there are the high leverage practices in general education, and the Teaching Works website is a really great resource for some of those more general education high leverage practices that still can be of great use to students with disabilities. So I just wanted to show you the website briefly. Again, and in fact, we know some of the general education high leverage practices and high leverage practices for students with disabilities are the same. It just might be how you implement them is a little different. So again, we felt like some of these resources might still be helpful for you. Possibly if you have colleagues in other divisions of your organization, this might be helpful to them. So I'm just here on the general About Us page. But if you go to this first link right here, curriculum resources, and scroll down, what I love is that they have two main areas. They have the high leverage practices here, but they also have resources around teacher education pedagogies. So this is all about how will you teach novice teachers. In Cedar, we have some other cross-state learning groups around practice-based learning opportunities that you might want to check out. But for the time being, you can always look here on the Teaching Works website. So if you click on the practice, and they do offer online courses if you want to take a more formal course. But essentially, you scroll down and here are all of the high leverage practices. So explaining and modeling content, of course, you click on it. And then it talks about what is this practice, why is it important, and what are the elements of the practice. Now, if you download this, what's called decomposition, you actually get a really nice one pager, right? It's actually a front and back, where it has a very succinct summary of the practice. And again, how it looks in when someone is implementing it. The decomposition of it is like breaking it down into the smaller pieces, planning the model, framing it, using language and representations clearly. And then here's just basically that same content, but in a visual of how it all relates. So would be, again, a really nice, I think, resource if you were, particularly, and maybe if any of you are teaching in a dual certification kind of program, or you're working with both general educators and special educators. I think there's some great cross content collaboration across the high leverage practices that could be helpful for your teacher candidates or the teachers with whom you're working. So again, all of them are listed here and each have those great resources with it. The other thing, let me go back, it's also broken down into various subjects. So you can have the K-12 general, PK-12 subject in mathematics. Then they actually show you how you could embed the high leverage practice, for example, in mathematics, leading a discussion. And again, these are not necessarily designed specifically to meet the needs of students with disabilities, but I do think there are things in here that for some students, it would still be very helpful. So really nice to see the high leverage practices then embedded within particular content areas, including science and social studies and English language arts. Now, I just wanted to briefly show you the teacher education pedagogies. So here is, again, if you're trying to think about, okay, what are some great practice-based opportunities I can incorporate in my teacher education course or professional development? The Teaching Works website has some great resources. For example, what are the best practices on using video to see and analyze practice, using student work, portraits, and other representations to learn about children? What would it look like for you to be, as a teacher educator, to be modeling teaching practice? So again, just some really great resources here to add to your library that we wanted to make sure, if you weren't aware of, that are out there. One question that we would like you all to think about as, again, we kind of wrap up and help you think about moving forward with the high leverage practices in the future is, who are your partners in this work? And your answer will most likely be different, given some of you are working for state agencies, some of you are faculty at teacher ed programs, some of you are district leaders, but with whom or what should this work align? As you think about your own role in promoting the high leverage practices and embedding them or incorporating them into practice. It can be, again, very personal to you and your own state, or you can think about generally with whom would we want this work to align.